So for my project, I worked on creating a learning and development evaluation program plan for the learning and development department at my company. So what we really wanted to do here was go beyond just using a single smile sheet and really try to develop a thorough, comprehensive evaluation program to make sure we're measuring the success of our programs and the value that we bring to the business. So some of the things that this included, because there's a lot in here, were that we identified the key program objectives. So how are we impacting the organization, employees, and then how is our efficiency and utilization when it comes to learning and development programs. We then identified evaluation instruments. So we actually designed and developed some new surveys for all of our programs. We outlined how assessments would support the evaluation, and then also some additional instruments and how those would support the evaluation. Then we went into, okay, so we've got these evaluation instruments. How are we going to collect that data and analyze it against the 4 levels of the Kirkpatrick model? So reaction, levels of learning, behavior, results. And then finally, we worked on how we want to report this data back both internally to the Learning and Development Department and then externally to key business stakeholders. And then because the program isn't going to be fully implemented by the end of this project, because this is really just the planning phase, planning and development phase, because we did develop some surveys. We did create an implementation plan to help guide us through the rest of this as we implement it throughout the rest of the year. So I'll give you some just quick overviews of some of our objectives. Again, we wanted to look at organizational impacts, employee impacts, and efficiency and utilization. So you can see some of those that we created there. Just to give you a look at one of our surveys, because we've got quite a few. Technical training had quite a few more than the other programs because they're longer. So they did have a little more skills. We just wanted to collect a little more data on those pieces. But just to give you a quick idea of what those surveys look like, we've just got a learning and development survey, and it gives you an idea here. Each one's going to vary the questions that they have because there are a few different ones, but it just was developed in Qualtrics so that we can get a better idea of what our employees think of our learning and development programs. And then also sometimes their managers, because that's another critical piece. So again, we broke that down into technical training, professional enrichment, leadership development, and then we have like a unique piece around corporate projects and how we support that. So we developed a post-project survey for that as well. We also identified that assessments would be supporting this, so kind of broke it down into our technical training and then professional enrichment and leadership development programs. We also identified that the LMS system can provide some useful data that we're going to try to capture to help support our evaluation. And then we eventually want to work on collecting performance system data to make sure that we're actually helping the performance of our employees. And then we also have, for corporate projects, our project ticketing system. So when we get down to the actual data collection and analysis, the way that I did this was I broke it down into the Kirkpatrick models and then also identified what key program objectives aligned up to each level of the Kirkpatrick model, and then broke it down by how we're going to use the data sources to collect information on our key performance indicators for the department, and then also for program-specific key performance indicators. So I broke those down again for each level of the Kirkpatrick model: reaction, levels of learning, and then behavior, and then results. And then this next piece took all of that data and analysis, and we said, okay, here's what we want to put into these reports that we're going to send back to our L&D team internally, L&D management, and then also externally to divisional leadership so that they can be invested and involved in our learning and development programs. So again, because we still have to implement some pieces of this, we've begun to implement it by distributing surveys, but we do still want to work on how we're going to collect data and how we're going to start generating reports. And most of this should be implemented and really running up to speed by around mid-July, though there are going to be some pieces that we can start capturing really over the next couple of months. But this really outlines for each program what those pieces that we need to implement are, and then how we're going to begin to collect data and report on it. But I really did enjoy this project. It really helped open my eyes to just how complex evaluations can be, but also how they don't need to be as complex as we make them. So I think, there was definitely a lot of lessons learned here, and it really gave me some good insight. This was just one of the sample reports that we created, got some color in there, but I definitely think it was a really great learning experience. I wouldn't say that I always feel 100% comfortable on evaluation, but I definitely feel a lot better than I did. So it was definitely a good learning experience by working on this project. So hope you enjoyed my overview. Thanks.